Frisson, insouciant, legerdemain, cliché. These 4 English words are of French origin. In this video, I'll tell you their meanings, how to use them in sentences, and how to pronounce them in both French and English. All this and more coming up. Keep watching. But first, do subscribe to The English Nut. Thank you. This is the favorite word of my viewer Firdaus Parvez, frisson. It means a brief sensation of excitement, a shudder of emotion, a thrilling shiver. It could be because of fear or pleasure, or a combination of the two. It's a reaction that gives you goosebumps or makes your pupils dilate. Amit felt a frisson of excitement just looking at the roller coaster. As the villain appeared on stage, a frisson of apprehension rippled through the theatre. Waiting her turn at the dentist's clinic, Smita felt a frisson of fear. The English word frisson is borrowed from the French word frisson, and French adapted it from the Latin word frigere, which means to be cold. In his book A Familiar Rain, author John J. Geddes writes, "When you look at the stars, you should tremble. Only dullards have become callous to this frisson." This is a favorite word of my viewer Man Bahadur Darji. Insouciant. It refers to showing a casual lack of concern. It's about being free from worry or anxiety, carefree, nonchalant. It signifies feeling relaxed and happy with no sense of worry or guilt. It could mean a lack of concern about something which one might be expected to take more seriously. The company displays an insouciant disregard for customer support. While her mother scolded her, she walked off with an insouciant shrug of her shoulders. Despite his insouciant stage presence, the rock star craved validation from his fans. Insouciant comes from the French word insouciant. It has the same spelling as the English word but is pronounced differently. The prefix in or un in French means not, and souciant comes from se soucier, which means to care. So it literally means not caring or worrying. In her book titled The Museum of Intangible Things, author Wendy Wonder says, "You need to be flagrantly insouciant. You care way too much, and because of that you will be paralyzed for life and miss out on everything." In other words, she recommends insouciance as the right attitude for living a happy life. This is the favorite word of my viewer Anindita Gupta, legerdemain. It's about the skillful use of one's hands when performing conjuring tricks. In this original sense of the word, you would use it in a sentence thus: "By a feat of legerdemain, the magician pulled a rabbit out of his hat." Legerdemain originates in the French word légèrement and means dexterity or literally light of hand. Léger is French for light, and main is French for hand. The English phrase sleight of hand has the same meaning. Like sleight of hand, legerdemain is used today to mean dexterity or cunning so as to deceive, sort of like trickery. The lawyer used legal legerdemain to get his client cleared of all charges. The salesman's legerdemain convinced the customer that he was getting a good deal on the car he was buying. The real estate agent hid the flaws in the flat with his legerdemain. The ad world uses visual and verbal legerdemain to sell consumers things they don't need. George Sarton, the Belgian-American chemist and historian, wrote, "The chief requisite for making a good chicken pie is chicken. Nay, no amount of culinary legerdemain can make up for the lack of chicken." In the same way, the chief requisite for the history of science is intimate scientific knowledge. No amount of philosophic legerdemain can make up for its absence. This is the favorite word of my viewer Shoram Kundu, cliché. The acute accent over the E is a clue to the French origin of this word. Without this accent, the word would have been pronounced cliche in French. A cliché is a phrase or idea that is overused and therefore no longer considered original. A trite expression, an obvious remark. Banality and platitude are synonyms of the word. If you've heard an expression many times, it's probably a cliché. Think outside the box. The grass is always greener on the other side, like a kid in a candy store, and in the nick of time are examples of cliches. These expressions were innovative when they were invented, but because of endless repetition, they have lost their novelty. It's alright to use cliches when chatting informally, but you should avoid them in formal writing. Certain hackneyed plots or situations that crop up again and again in movies and novels are also called cliches. While cliché is usually written with the acute accent on the E, it is permissible to drop the accent. The word is pronounced more or less the same in both French and English. In his fantasy novel Guards, Guards, Terry Pratchett wrote, "The reason that clichés become clichés is that they are the hammers and screwdrivers in the toolbox of communication," meaning that clichés are a convenient shorthand for communication, which is why they are used so often. But here's what German-American historian and political philosopher Hannah Arendt has to say about clichés in her book The Life of the Mind. Clichés, stock phrases, adherence to conventional, standardized codes of expression and conduct have the socially recognized function of protecting us against reality, that is, against the claim on our thinking attention that all events and facts make by virtue of their existence. I guess what she's saying is that when someone uses a cliché to describe a situation, the cliché acts as a layer that prevents people from seeing the situation exactly as it is, and instead makes them see it as a version of something they've encountered in the past, which would be a good reason for avoiding clichés. There you have it. 4 English words of French origin: frisson, insouciant, legerdemain, and cliché. Let me know what you think of them. If you know any other English words of French origin, do write them in the comments section. I'm the English Nut. Bye for now.